Greetings, comrades. I wasn't going to bother making this video, but I watched a video by the amazing atheist called Steve Jobs Dies at 56. Towards the end, TJ makes the only comment in the video which I object to. I agree with most of his points of view. That Steve Jobs wasn't a saint, but that he left the world in a better condition than when he found it. Steve Jobs died recently of cancer. He's received a lot of praise from a lot of important people. Obama, Ronald Reagan in the past, Arnold Schwarzenegger, David Cameron, all these people lining up in the media to say what a wonderful guy he was, what a pioneer he was. He produced some really great little gadgets, the iPads and the iPhones and various Apple software that a lot of people enjoy. A lot of people in the West get a lot of benefits out. And his business practices have allowed us in the West to be able to afford these commodities at a comparatively low price, so that the ordinary man in the West has access to these luxuries. There are some names, however, which I don't think people in the West really know well enough. I don't think they've ever been mentioned in any kind of Western media outlet. These names include Lu Bing, Sun Dan Yong, Ma Qian, Tian Yu, Rao Zhuken, Lu Xin, Zhu Chenming, Liang Chao, Nan Gan, many others. And these people were workers in a factory. And that factory belongs to a company called Foxconn, which is a child company of the Honhai Precision Industry Co. Limited. And this particular factory, I believe, mostly produced goods designed by Steve Jobs or members of Steve Jobs' team, including the iPad and the iPhone. And the conditions in which these people were forced to work, and they were forced to work because they mostly came from peasant backgrounds, where people are forced to travel great distances to work for very low money, because there's no jobs in the countryside. Your pretty much only option is to work in one of these kind of super companies. They have to live on site, working practically 60 hours a week, something, being overworked. And for many of these workers, the conditions and the lifestyle, which they felt they had no other choice but leading, was so bad that they elected to take their own lives. A lot of them by jumping from the top of the factory to the ground below. Some of them hanging themselves. Some of them didn't even choose to die. Some of them died in accidents due to poor health and safety, in chemical leaks, and exhaustion. So, the worst thing is these people who are so low paid will probably never get the opportunity in their lives to ever be able to afford an iPad or an iPhone or any of these other commodities. And they don't exactly have options with campaigning for civil rights, which is ironic. It's supposed to be the Communist Party in charge, but obviously they took the capitalist road a long time ago, and they've basically emerged as this corporatist, fascistic giant which just absorbs people and treats them much more like machines than we'll ever experience over here, I hope, for the time being, anyway. They're practically forced to live in labour camps. So, I'm wondering what these people would have thought of Steve Jobs, because these people had campaigned. There's a group called Students and Scholars Against Corporate Misbehaviour, which is a Hong Kong-based labour organisation, which had campaigned very vocally using some great publicity stunts to get the attention of Steve Jobs and his colleagues, to draw attention to the conditions under which these workers were living and working and dying. And so far, I haven't. Steve Jobs and his colleagues maintained that their companies were working to the proper standards. They were treating their workers fairly. So I wonder what those workers would think of Steve Jobs. I wonder if they'd call him a pioneer or a genius. Well, they don't know if he's a genius. Like I say, they just make the iPads. So, you know, I'm not going to moralize people who own these things. You know, it's sure. I mean, buy one. You know, just be aware of what's going on and the conditions, and petition to the company to say, hey, keep making these wonderful things, but you know, treat your workers better. Or you know, you could just try and overthrow capitalism. That works for me too. But just you know, when you're using these things, remember you don't have these products because Steve Jobs came up with them. The reason you're able to afford these products is because they are made cheaply by low-paid workers working under horrific conditions in a faraway country. And not... so, yeah, I mean, basically, the point of this video is, fuck you, Steve Jobs. I hope your death was painful. As painful as the workers who died making those shitty bits of shit.